I'm Dylan and welcome to my map called Fantastical Forest. The idea and theme for my level was centered around nature, since it allowed me to mess with verticality thanks to plants of different sizes and how many multiplayer levels aren't using nature, instead focusing on futuristic cities. I started immediately by sketching 5 level design ideas, 3 for the game mode Capture the Flag and 2 for Deathmatch. I decided to use sketch number 1 as my final layout because firstly it was symmetrical, which complements the CTF map, and secondly it has at least 2 routes for every section of the map, removing the possibility of any dead ends. My map was created within the Unreal Tournament editor using only the game's assets, and the process took 3 months, 1 month per iteration. Afterwards I made 2 mood boards, one for the gameplay and one for the aesthetic of the map. The aesthetic was mostly for finding objects I could whitebox that would appear normally in a forest, and the gameplay mood board allowed me to plan a balanced map. I included the flat cannon for short-range combat, which is common in CTF due to the high amount of players. I then included double enforcers and miniguns for mid-range revenge, and snipers for long range. Now you have a gun for every scenario. I also included a berserk power-up on the empty high-up bridges for more risk and reward. The map is divided into 3 main levels: the forest floor, the minigun towers, and the spawns and bridges on the top floor. I then created a more detailed node map which now includes the items. The bigger ones will be placed in more dangerous areas and the smaller ones will be placed out of sight near some cover, since if a player needs cover they are probably on low health. The one-way route is to allow the defenders of the flag to get it back faster than the attackers, allowing a mixture of attack and defense in the level design. Here is my first iteration of the map. The main bridge is the fastest route but also has the least cover. Whilst people did enjoy playtesting this map, it was a good start since all the routes were used and all of the guns were found. However, thanks to the Google form I created, there were some clear issues. Players barely used the top floor, which was the opposite of my intention, as well as finding the water puddle useless and annoying, and the floor in general was very flat with no verticality. Players also died too much and didn't enjoy the flat walls despite knowing the theme. Version 2 had a lot of improvements over version 1. The flat floor and walls have been replaced with a smoothened terrain tool, adding slight cover and further fitting the forest theme. The water size has dramatically increased and now works as alternate slower routes with more cover and verticality, with armor at the bottom of each pool giving them purpose. More trees have been added to improve cover, such as the center tree, which not only prevents people from sniping you from spawn but also allows for a new route. If you go through the newly added treetop route, the player can reach 2 redeemers as a secret reward for good platforming skills and exploration. More lights have been added to increase visibility, and everything is now textured with materials that have meter lines in them, allowing people to measure the scale of the BSPs from video footage and images. More health and spawns have been added as leading lines, as well as changing the rotation of the spawns so you now face the center of the map, subtly increasing the flow of the gameplay. The left exit has also had an increased platform size, making it much harder for players to accidentally fall off of the platforms and take damage. Lights have also been color coded for each team to add a visual difference in the map. Finally, certain trees now have cover holes only accessible via crouching or sliding. The one big issue players stated about version 2 and version 1 was the spawn exploit. The player could get the flag then go back to their spawn using the color coded doors, and the opposing team couldn't kill them since they couldn't open the enemy team's doors due to the code. This meant if 2 players held a flag in each spawn, nobody could score any points. This was fixed in version 3 by removing the doors and keeping cover by moving the spawns to the roofs. The cabins were then given furniture to make the level seem more alive and adding subtle verticality and cover within the spawns. One redeemer has been removed in version 3 to reduce camping, and the map now has visually distinct sub-themes. The red team has a fireplace which damages you using a pain volume if you stand on it. The map is still functionally symmetrical since the new mushrooms are still crouch cover and the routes are leading lines towards the flag. 2 new cabins have been added with invisibility power-ups in them, which can only be reached by players using the translocator, hence rewarding those with more experience with the game. Barrels and spiral stairs have been added to improve cover and height on the top floor. The armor is now stronger with a new volumetric fog density on the ground floor to add more cover and stealth options. The bounce pads on the treetops have been increased in size to make the route more obvious, as players in version 2 weren't aware of how to access the treetops. I think this final iteration is the best version, but there's always room for improvement.